We're back here, SwamiLee's Sports Talk. It's been a little bit, but we're back with some topics that are very important. There's one topic, Mike, that is near and dear to my heart, that I'm sure you have some knowledge of, even though I haven't told you what it is. For those that have not paid attention, last week, yes, it happened. The douche nozzle, Curt Schilling, did not get into the Hall of Fame, though he got awfully close. Mike, what are your thoughts on the fact that Curt Schilling is not yet a Hall of Famer?
Well, a few things are clear. One, he's not a slam dunk, sure thing Hall of Famer like Steve Carlton, Tom Seaver. There's clearly room for debate about whether he's worthy at all. And racking my memory, I think I've come down on both sides of that argument at various times. But I think this raises an interesting question because unlike so many other people who have fallen short after coming close, Curt has a lot of non-baseball baggage that he seems to think has colored the voters, and his supporters seem to think have colored the voters.
Well, let's start with this. I'll ask you a question. Do you belong in the Hall of Fame because you're a great postseason pitcher if the rest of your numbers are questionable?
I think it's a flawed premise because the rest of his numbers are a little better than merely questionable.
No, his numbers are questionable. In other words, he's not a slam dunk Hall of Famer with his numbers.
Okay, well,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, if you are borderline in the regular season overall, then being a great postseason pitcher over a couple of postseasons can put you over the top.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Taking postseason out of the equation, okay, are his numbers that close to being a Hall of Famer? I mean, 216 wins is a good number, but is 216 wins a Hall of Fame number? In my opinion, unless you're Pedro Martinez, no, it's not. So next question is strikeouts. Are you a Hall of Famer because you struck out 3,100 batters? I mean, are you a Hall of Famer? Is strikeouts a type of number that gets you in the Hall of Fame?
In the past, 3,000 strikeouts has been regarded as a Hall of Fame benchmark. Maybe it shouldn't be.
Well,
and we've had the same discussion in the context of hits, and that compiler Craig Biggio, who's not a Hall of Famer, but I don't want to digress.
Okay, hits are not strikeouts, okay? I mean, hits are... It's a lot harder to... Well, you need longevity for both, but hits do more for a team than a strikeout. What I mean by that is I'd rather see a double play ball than a strikeout with bases loaded, one out. Meanwhile, I'd rather see a single to center field than a walk with the bases loaded, one out. There's more value to a hit than a strikeout. A strikeout is more of a compiler statistic. It's zoo. Look at this. He struck out 14 batters. That's great. Doesn't mean he's going to win the game. It only means he stayed in the game longer. So, I mean, obviously you can't strike out 14 batters in 5 innings unless it's a miraculous game. But by no means is it a statistic that you have to win, is I guess what I'm trying to say. You have to have hits to win. You could have Jeff Ballard won 18 games in 1989. He had a game with no strikeouts. I mean, you don't need the strikeout. It's a fun start statistic, but you don't need the strikeout. So I don't think a strikeout makes you a Hall of Famer.
Well, yeah, but then you're overrating hits. I mean, how many hits leaders have fallen way short of making the postseason? Did Ichiro and all of his 220 hit seasons make the playoffs? Maybe once, maybe twice?
You can't judge that. Baseball's a team sport. 1 player, 2 players, 3 players don't make a team. Okay, Ichiro could hit 500 with 100 home runs, and he's not going to lead his team to the postseason by himself. Now, on the other hand, Michael Jordan could score 50 points a game with 20 assists and 10 steals, and he could literally lead his team by himself. The one thing basketball has proven is you can't win a championship by yourself, but you certainly can get into the playoffs. Baseball's not like that. I mean, you could have guys... Look at some of the players that never played in the postseason. Ernie Banks never played in the postseason. I mean, come on. You can't criticize Ernie Banks. Steve Carlton won 27 games for a team that won 59 games. You can't judge that way. Absolutely not. So what? So let me ask you this question. Okay, so if you had to vote based solely on 216 wins, solely on 3,116 strikeouts, I mean, he had a high WAR. It pains me to say he had a high WAR. So if you're a WAR voter, you almost have to vote him in. I think his WAR was 85, which is pretty impressive. Again, as much as I can't stand the guy, I can't criticize that. Are you putting him in based solely on those numbers?
Well, somebody has to be the person with the most WAR who's eligible for the Hall and not in the Hall. So I don't put WAR into this equation at all. As for the wins and the strikeouts, the fact is I think I value strikeouts a little bit more than you do, because the fact is you strike out more hitters, less balls in play, less chances for anyone to get on base in the first place.
True, but look at it from another perspective. The more strikeouts you have, the more pitches you have thrown. I'd rather the first batter ground a shortstop on the first pitch than strike out on a 3-2 curveball. Because remember, not only that, okay, let me ask you this question. The leadoff batter in a game, if you had a choice, would you like him to ground out to first base on the first pitch or even the second pitch, or strike out?
Well, if I'm...
Now remember, there's risk involved. The first baseman could boot the ball. Remember that. What would you rather have happen?
Well, if I'm rooting for the home team and you're talking about the away team's leadoff batter, I'd rather have him be out on the first pitch.
Why is that?
There are a couple of reasons. One, because conventional wisdom says that when you have a leadoff hitter, you want the leadoff hitter to stretch out the at-bat so that the batters who are going to hit after him can see the pitcher's stuff that day.
You hit it right on the head. That's where I was going with this. I wanted to see if you knew it or not. Yep, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. The fewer pitches thrown early, the better. You know, it's great to see us strike out the side in the first inning. The odds are you're going to throw 20 pitches if you strike out the side in the first inning, or 15, or whatever the number might be. You're not going to go 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3. I'm with you. But in my opinion, 3,000 strikeouts, not a Hall of Fame number. I mean, I'm not even impressed by it because it's not important. Strikeouts are not important. Outs are important. Work quickly is important. Throw fewer pitches, important. But his numbers are definitely on the border. But I think with the postseason, they're on the border. Not on the border plus the postseason. Because I see 216 wins over parts of, 18 seasons, 19 seasons? I'm not impressed by that. I mean, I realize the first two, he only had about 9-10 appearances. But he became a full-time pitcher in 1991, though he was a reliever. And, I mean, he just wasn't ever, he had 2 seasons, he won 20 games. He had 1 season, he won 17, and he had 1 season, he won 16. I mean, he had 4 seasons of 16 wins or more. How in God's name can you... Oh, I'm sorry. Add 1 more. He had 3 20-win seasons. My bad. So he had 5 seasons where he won 16 games or more. Didn't Don Sutton win 25 years in a row and people like you say he's not a Hall of Famer? No, I mean, I'd be dead serious.
Well, Don was something of a compiler.
But he won 25 years in a row. Curt Schilling won 16 games 5 years in a row. So if Sutton is a questionable Hall of Famer, how the hell do you put in Don? How do you put in Curt Schilling? Or how do you even think about putting in Curt Schilling? He should be knocked out in the first ballot. No, I mean, if you really compare the two...
No, Lee, you have to have some context here. I mean, the fact is, when Don was a pitcher, you had 4-man rotations, and a healthy starter, a healthy 1 or 2, was going to make 40 or 41 starts a year.
That is very true. No, that is very true. Okay, and I cannot argue your logic. But at the same time, why didn't more pitchers win 20 games 5 years in a row then?
Well, there are a lot of reasons.
They weren't as good as Don Sutton, I think, is the first reason. I mean, it's okay. You could win it 1 year. Pat Dobson won 20 games 1 year. I understand. You get lucky. Lamar Hoyt, didn't he win 23 games 1 year or something like that?
He did. Steve Stone won 25.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it. You could have lightning in a bottle, and you can win a game. And just, or you could beat Jeff Ballard and get, I don't know how many runs per game he got in 1989. I mean, I was there in Baltimore that time. He literally, I mean, his numbers, if you compare his numbers in 89 and 90, they were very similar. In 89, he won 18 games. In 90, he won 2 games. He was getting friggin' ridiculous run support. And his numbers were not impressive. So anyone can catch lightning in a bottle. But 5 years in a row? I mean, you're a Hall of Famer. Now if you're Curt Schilling, you could have a 4-year stretch with 3 20-win seasons with an 8-win season right in the middle of it all. But if you take out those 4 years, his numbers are pedestrian. I mean, the guy, like I said before, the guy has won more than 15 games 5 times in his career.
Now, let's hang on a second. There's this little site you might have heard of called Baseball Reference.
I am quite familiar with it, thank you.
And looking at Don Sutton's career numbers, he has one 20-win season. And
Wait, hey, time out.
19-win seasons.
Time out of the field. So Sutton didn't win 25 years in a row?
He won 21. He won 21 once and 19 twice, and after that, other than that, never won more than 17 in a season.
Who am I thinking of?
Well, you might be thinking of Fergie Jenkins, who I never said was not a Hall of Famer, but who did win 26 years
I don't know. I guess you got me on that one. I don't know why I thought Don Sutton won. I don't know. I can't answer the question. But he also won over 300 games. But
that's true.
I don't even know. You got me. I'm dumbfounded. I don't know why I thought that happened. I can't even. I can't even. I don't know. So you kind of threw me totally for a loop here. So for our viewers out there are sitting back saying, yeah, he don't know nothing. I think you're right, actually, at this stage of the game. So, Mike, we're running out of time. We got into all this, and meanwhile, I had all this information on the postseason I wanted to share. Because we can't argue Curt Schilling's postseason prowess. I mean, I can't argue that. But also, I'm going to ask you this question. Is Orel Hershiser a Hall of Famer?
No.
Is Madison Bumgarner a Hall of Famer?
The book's not yet written on him.
The book's pretty much written. He's already, 32, 33, and his numbers aren't even close. If he was younger, I would agree with you. And plus, after last season, he may be done.
Well, as for Madison, I'll just say that his regular season numbers are so far from even borderline that his postseason heroics can't put him in the discussion.
Exactly. How about Josh Beckett? Is Josh Beckett a Hall of Famer?
No.
Okay. Well, all those guys, I'm not saying they were as good as Schilling, but they were right in the ballpark with Curt Schilling in the postseason. Cliff Lee, in his 102 wins, is he a Hall of Famer?
Of course not.
His postseason looked darn good. If you take out his last 2 postseason appearances, he's probably better than Curt Schilling in the postseason. But his last 2 years in the postseason, he got shelled pretty hard in Texas and Philly. How about George Earnshaw? Is George Earnshaw a Hall of Famer, Mike?
I don't think I ever remember hearing about him.
Well, I obviously I had to look this one up. He played for the Philadelphia A's in 1928, and I'm cheating a little bit. He was 4-3, 1.58 in the postseason with a .89 WHIP. Is he a Hall of Famer? Those are pretty darn good numbers. Those are Schilling-esque, if not better than Schilling.
Tell me the postseason numbers again.
4-3, 1.58 with a .89 WHIP.
And how was he in the regular season?
He played for about 9 years.
Then, unless his regular season numbers were comparable to, say, Sandy Koufax or better, no. He's not a Hall of Famer.
And you would be correct, by the way. He was far from a Hall of Famer. But again, I read a lot of people who say Curt Schilling is a Hall of Famer. He's the best postseason pitcher in history. They don't say, Curt Schilling had great numbers. Adding in his postseason, he's a Hall of Famer. They don't say that. They say Curt Schilling is, the greatest postseason pitcher in history, which, by the way, is not true. He may be a top 5. He is not number 1. Bob Gibson is probably the number 1 postseason pitcher in baseball history. But not my point at the moment. And not to mention, and again, we are running out of time, but I need to finish some important information to you. Let's call him a borderline player. Okay, He's a borderline player with all stats put in. He could get in. He might not get in. But he's right on the border. Okay, you with me so far?
I'm with you so far.
Okay. The fact that he and his buddies act like they should be wearing white hoods, okay, kind of take away a little bit, in my opinion. The way he is, he's a lousy human being, okay? He's a nasty human being, which is all kind of... He was a horrible teammate. He was a terrible teammate. I mean, ask anybody. He's a terrible teammate. He's a terrible human being.
Remember that time I put a towel over my head when you were giving a dissertation because I was so scared about how it was going to turn out?
Exactly right. He's a hard... And the sad part is, when he was playing, and he maybe even till today, he did a lot of charity work. I mean, that's true. He did a lot of charity work. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand how you could do all that charity work and at the same time be a lousy, hateful person. I don't understand that.
Well, to digress, Pete Rose's flaws are different than Curt's, but he did a lot of good things behind the scenes.
He also did a lot of bad things. I mean, bad things. I'm a Pete Rose supporter, but Pete Rose did some bad things. And Curt Schilling's just a lousy human being with lousy views that are dangerous. I mean, his views are dangerous. His views could actually get people hurt or killed. Not that anybody's going to listen to Curt Schilling, but some of the things he does can be very dangerous. So, and that's keeping him out. And then, Mike, you see that letter he wrote, that email he sent?
I did, and I have a comment about that.
And what might that be?
Since in that letter, or that email, whatever it was, Curt acknowledged, I don't belong in the Hall of Fame. Fine, let all the baseball writers next year abide by that, and when he comes up for the Veterans Committee, let the Veterans Committee say, well, Curt says he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, that's good enough for us.
Well, I love that idea. Here's the thing. He might get in the Hall of Fame because of that letter. He wants everybody to go, oh, Curt's wife is sick. Let's put him in the Hall of Fame. That's what, the whole thing. It was unbelievable. I read this thing, and I'm sitting back saying to myself, this is horrendous. How in God's name do you put this thing together? And by the way, he released it maybe 10 minutes after the vote was announced, which means he wrote it in advance. Okay. I don't think he gets in next year. I think he burned too many bridges. But you may see people sit back and say, oh, poor Curt, with his wife sick, we should get him in the Hall of Fame so she can see him in the Hall of Fame. That I think is why he did it. It's pretty brilliant.
To which I respond, since Dick Allen was kept out until after he died, and he's still out, while I feel bad for Shonda Schilling, her illness is no reason to elevate Curt to status that he may not deserve.
I would agree with that 100%. Well, Mike, we've taken up way too much time on this topic. In conclusion, I'm going to say, Curt Schilling, you're a douche nozzle, and you're not a Hall of Famer, and I'm glad that you didn't get in. I actually cheered loudly when it was announced, which I don't do very often anymore in my old age. And I hope next year you don't get in. And when it comes time to the Veteran Committee, Mike, think about it this way. Everybody hates him. Who's going to vote him in the Veterans Committee?
Well, he was no Phil Rizzuto, that's for sure.
Topic for another time. Again. Well, anyway, it's time for us to call it a night. Thank you for tuning in to SwamiLee's Sports Talk. I'm SwamiLee.
I am Mellow Mike.
And we'll see you next time. Have a great, great day.
Bye-bye.